Chapter 1 continued. I tap the pencil on my teeth. I know it's rude and disloyal to discuss family business with other people, but Miss Needham says good writing is always about telling the truth. Father's most endearing trait is that he is the best storyteller and poet in the world. He can come up with a poem at the most inappropriate times. His pet peeve is that even though he's smart, it's very hard to find a job. His dream is to do what he was trained to do in Flint, be a carpenter. The oldest child in our family, Mr. James Edward Malone, is 15 years old and has been blessed with the singing voice of an angel. Jimmy's most annoying trait is that he has what mother says is a Napoleon complex. That means Jimmy is not as tall or robust as other boys his age and tries to make up for it by being as loud and full of bravado as he can. He also gets in a lot of fights. Jimmy's most endearing trait is that he loves me more than any big brother has loved a little sister since time immemorial. Jimmy is the best brother in the world. On the last birthday, we had just finished eating, and I could barely sit still because after supper, the birthday person gets something special. It was my turn to clear the dishes, and I stalled around in the kitchen to give them lots of time to get my surprise ready, then walked back into the dining room. There were 2 cupcakes with a candle in the middle of them sitting at my Jimmy and spot. A chocolate frosted one for me and a vanilla frosted one for Jimmy. I was speechless. Jimmy said, "Wow, Ma, those store-bought." Mother must have been putting pennies aside for a long time to buy 2 such beautiful little cakes. Father said, "James, please do the honors." Jimmy closed his eyes, then settled into singing Happy Birthday. I got chills. I wasn't sure if it was because of Jimmy's voice or because I was so excited. Mother and Father joined in on the last chorus. When they were done, I smiled so hard it felt like my cheekbones were crushing my eyeballs. Jimmy said, "I got you 2 gifts. One, I'll wash and dry the dishes for the week. And 2." He looked at Father and they walked into the other room. When they came back, each one of them was carrying a heavy package wrapped in newspapers. They set them down in front of me. I said, "Flint Style or Gary Style?" Father always tells us Mother opens his packages and envelopes Gary Style. He says we Gary people pry and poke and pull the envelope so carefully and daintily and take so long doing it that we might as well be doing brain surgery. He says we would do it that way because Indiana people are so cheap that we want to use the same envelope over and over. Word has it, he said once, that there have only been 2 envelopes used in the whole state of Indiana since the War of 1812. Then he showed us that what he called opening something like Flint Style. It was a race to see how quick you could get what was inside the envelope or package out. To be officially Flint Style, Father says, the envelope or the wrapping paper has to be shredded into at least 6 different pieces. It's got to look like confetti. I glanced at Mother. She shook her head and said, "I suppose you can't fight the fact that half of your blood is from Flint." I tore into the newspaper on the first present and was shocked. It was old and tired, and I had used it a million times before. How did Jimmy get this? Jimmy said, "The library was selling books they didn't want anymore. Here's the receipt for these 2. He handed me a piece of paper. He paid 3 cents for the dictionary and 2 cents for a thesaurus. Inside the first page of the dictionary, someone had stamped in with red ink, "Withdrawn." Jimmy had written underneath that, "February 14th, 1935. Happy 12th birthday, sis." The dictionary and the thesaurus are the best birthday presents I will ever get. The best birthday presents, too. I looked back over my essay. Jimmy's pet peeve is when people call him Shorty, Little Fella, and worst of all, Pee Wee. His dream is to start growing again until he is a 6 foot tall man who is comfort with bumpy muscles. His dream is also to be the first boy to drive a rocket ship to the moon. He is very delusional. The youngest Malone child, your devoted author of this essay, Deza, is 12 years old, which makes me the third oldest in my class. I didn't flunk, but 2 years ago I had to sit out a year of school because mother was struck down with a horrible disease called tic douloureux. That is a French word that means pain of the devil. Her face felt like it was on fire, and she needed a very responsible person to look after her all day. I did it. My teacher said I could skip fourth grade to stay with my class, but being a year behind meant I could be in class with the dearest friend anyone has ever had, Miss Clarice Ann Johnson. I fought to stay, and I won. I am neither very intelligent nor very tall. I also have not been blessed with a beautiful singing voice. I have a pleasingly even disposition, unless it's one of those times when I am very angry or scared and have embarrassing wishes to hurt someone real bad. In the next part of the essay, I was supposed to tell about my most annoying trait. I really did try, but I couldn't think of even one. I thought about making one up, but even with my good imagination, nothing came to mind that anyone with a wit of sense would believe. Clarice and I had been walking home. What do you think is my most annoying trait, Clarice? She said, Oh, Dessa, you're not done with the essay yet? I was just having trouble with that one part. You know that I don't think you have any annoying traits, Dessa, but she stopped. But what? But maybe you could use some of the things other people say about you behind your back. I don't pay a bit of attention to anything people say behind my back. But mother tells me and Jimmy that we can learn something from anybody, even if it's a big old idiot. I said, what do they say? Well, I thought Clarice might have a problem coming up with something to say, but she held up a finger. First, they think you're too friendly with the teachers. Her next finger went up. Second, they say you think you're so smart. Another finger went up. Third, they say you think your family is so great. Another finger. Fourth, they say you talk too much and that you talk all proper. Her thumb came up. Clarice raised a finger on her left hand. Fifth, they think you've got your nose stuck up in a book most of the time. Clarice raised up a finger on her left hand. I stopped her before we had to sit so close she could take off her shoes and start counting on her toes. I said, maybe I do talk a little too much. At home, I put in my essay. My most annoying trait is that some of the time I might talk a little too much. I can be very verbose. I also exaggerate, but that is because I come from a family of great storytellers, which is not the same as great liars. My most enduring trait, and being as modest as I am, I had to ask my brother Jimmy for this, is that I have the heart of a champion, am steady as a rock, and can be counted on to do what is required. Jimmy also said I'm the smartest kid he's ever met, but my all-encompassing and pervasive humility prevents me from putting that on this list. My first pet peeve is when people don't pronounce my name right. They'll say Deeza instead of Deza, just like the first syllable of a desert, like the Sahara, which is geologically an arid, huge part of Africa, and they do it on purpose. My second pet peeve is that the Gary Ironhead Dogs, the best baseball team in the world, have been cursed and will never win the Negro Leagues championship. My dream is to read every book in the Gary Public Library and to be a teacher and who has the reputation for being tough but fair, just like Mrs. Needham. I had the perfect ending for the essay. In summation and conclusion, the Malone family has four members who are very bright, very good looking, and uniquely talented, just not all in one person at the same time. We are the only family in the world, in my kin, that has a motto of our own. That motto is, we are a family on a journey to a place called wonderful. I can't wait till we get there. Hmm. I wonder, if your family had a motto, what do you think it would be? A motto is a saying that guides your choices and decisions. It's like your words to live by. What do you think would be your words to live by? Your personal motto, or maybe even for your whole family. Take some time. Talk about it with everyone. See if you guys come up with something to live by in your home.